So previously we saw what rounding rules are and why we use rounds. So you're okay. I mean, like you understood the concept, like how the rounding is done, right?
Uh, yes.
Okay. So the concept of rounding is very important in all the future work rule modules because the concept is going to be the same. So you're just going to try to determine if you're going to round a punch or if you're going to just use a punch as it is. So the concept of rounding is going to be the same, but the other modules are going to be different. But the concept is going to be the same. The rounding concept is going to be the same. Like what you're going to apply to it is going to be the same. So we've seen shift guarantees. Shift guarantees are nothing but they're paid definitely irrespective of the shift work. Like even if they've only worked for 2 hours on that day, you're going to pay the user say 4 hours for that day. So shift guarantees are nothing but their amounts of time that the employees earn, even if they work very less times. So the next thing in the work rule modules is the exceptions. Exceptions are nothing but they're these tiny flags like in the time card. It will show you if an employee is late for a shift or if he has come early for a shift or if there is any unexcused absence. Like he's not taken prior permission and he's absent for the work. The shift is open, so he's not worked it, so that's unexcused absence. So all these exceptions we can flag in the sense like we can mark it, you can highlight it in the time card. So you know when there's any abnormality, it will show you that okay, there's a deviation in this person's schedule, and you know the manager can verify it before he can send it to payroll. Okay, so we flag exceptions like late in, early out, unscheduled, or missing punches. So suppose if there is any missing punch, the time span will not be calculated for that day and it will not get sent to the payroll. So that will, that will become a problem. So, these exceptions will help manager to find the exceptions like these and they'll process it accordingly before the payroll happens. So these are just exceptions are nothing but these are markers. Exceptions are nothing but these are markers or flags that are used to alert managers when employee work outside of their assigned shifts. They're only used as flags, and this is just like tracking. Only when you want to see like something is out of ordinary. So if you have absence, like you use attendance, right? So you will be seeing all of these exceptions in the disciplinary actions. When you run attendance actions, you'll be able to see some disciplinary actions set for late or early coming, etc. So if you don't have a schedule, you will not know whether you're late or whether you're early, right? So in order to process this, we need to have a schedule. So the system will not know if you're late or if you're early to work, right? So in order to process that, you first need to have a schedule. So when you have a schedule, Workforce Timekeeper will review your schedule and your punches and it will report any abnormal employee activities such as late coming and it's going to flag it in the system. So this system is going to compare your employees' punch time and their assigned shift, like whatever schedule shift is assigned to them, to see if there is any unusual occurrence or any exceptions. So, just like we're saying, like going out late, there are other examples like you can leave early from work or you can work longer than your usual shift. So all these items can be tracked in the exceptions. When an employee is forgetting to punch or when an employee is absent or when their lunch is very long or lunch is very short, even in those cases you can use exceptions. So we will not define, we will usually when we are setting up a system, we will not be defining all the exceptions. The most common ones are late in, early out, long breaks, and unscheduled shifts. So well, let's see this with an example. Uh, okay, so suppose say that my shift is at 7 a.m. Sorry, my shift is at 8 a.m. and I leave around 4:30. So my shift is from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So my shift is 8.5 hours long. So if I come after 8, so if I come anytime after 8, it's called as late. I'm late to work. So if I come anytime a little before 8, like say between 7 to 8, then I am early to work. If I come even before 7, then I'm very early to work. So say that I'm coming at 8:30. I'm coming at 8:45. 8:45 a.m., then it means that I'm late to my work on that day. So if I come around, say 7:30 a.m., then I'm early to work. If I come around 7 a.m., then I'm very early to work. Similarly, my shift is ending at 4:30 p.m. If I leave any time before 4:30, say if I'm leaving at 4 p.m., then I'm leaving very early, so it's called as early. This is early. So if I leave any time after 4:30, then I am late. So say I'm leaving around 4:45, then I'm late. If I'm leaving around 5:30 or after 5:30, then I am very late. Okay, so these are the terms. Do you understand? These are the terms. So when we talk about early and late exceptions, there are variations on each one of this. So an employee can be any one of this. He can be very early, late, or very late. So it can be any one of this. So these are the generic definitions. Like it doesn't have to be the same time, but it's just the definitions that's important. And we'll be working on an example for this. So let's see the setup. Let's see what all things it's going to ask when you want to set up a new one. I will do early. So I have two tabs here. One is punches and one is breaks. Like punches is going to identify my general in and out punch. My break is going to look for my break, and then it's going to see if I'm early or late for my break. So as usual, we'll be giving a name, a naming convention, and there's unscheduled. So when you select this, it's going to just display an unscheduled. Like if he's going to work, if an employee is working an unscheduled shift, then it's going to flag it as an exception. So if I check this, it's going to be an unscheduled. My long interval, you select this option to define an unusually long period of time between an in punch and an out punch. So the rounded time between the punches is used to compute this exception. If the time between the in and out equals or is greater than the long interval, then the long exception appears on the time cut. Um, so we can set this up to say 60 or 59 minutes. Okay, so that is long. So what happens in long is, if there is a very long gap between your in punch and an out punch, the time is rounded off between the punches, and that rounded off time is used to compute the exception. So if the time is equal to or greater than the long interval, then this exception, like if it's greater than 59 minutes or equal to 15 minutes, then there will be a long exception that will appear on your time card. Similarly, a short shift appears when the rounded shift lengths are less than or equal to the short shift setting. So what happens in your in punch and out punch? So we just saw what very early, late means, right? So we're going to schedule what time is very early, what time is early, and what time is late. So probably we'll just give 30 minutes for each for our understanding. Okay, so you can also use a duration pay code to track any late things. Like sometimes The employee might be working something that's approved, so he might be staying back and working. So in that case, you can track it in your overtime pay codes, so you know it gets paid correctly. And this can be reviewed by the manager, and if he thinks it is not necessary, he can delete it from the employee's time card later. So this is for the punches. So next, there's a tab called the break. So the breaks tab is going to allow you to define the total break processing within a shift. So this break exception processing and the break paid amount, these are both based on the shift length. So you're going to define a round and a grace here. We can do a 30 minute, and I'll just leave it to 00. I just want it to be next. So uh, so there's a shift length over here, the shift length for the total break amounts that are being calculated in the row. Like there's no rounding here. So this ranges from the specified length up to the next length in the row. Whatever is in the rule, it's going to appear over here. So there's a short break, the minimum amount of unrounded break time that can be taken during the shift. So here an exception is generated if the total unrounded break minutes are less than or equal to this time over here. And then there's a long break. So this is used when a maximum amount of unrounded break time can be taken during the shift. So an exception is generated if the total unrounded break minutes is equal to or is going to exceed this amount. So, and the one is last one is paid amount. So in a total break paid, this determines the total break paid amount. This is an alternative to use paid amount for individual breaks. It specifies the total break time within the shift that is paid as work time. Break time in excess of this amount will be deducted from your shift later. Okay. So how do we determine in which sequence this should be processed is where we set up our break sequence from. So in order to explain this, once we set up our breaks, it will be easier for you to understand this. So once you set up a break rule, you'll be able to understand this. So I'll just go ahead and save this. Okay, any questions till now? So when you want to verify it, you can just view it
Hello,
from this page. Yeah.
ma'am. Can you go back one page?
Okay.
Yeah. In some people comes 59 minutes late. Then
Mm-hmm.
that time it show unscheduled or
No, it's unscheduled. So if I remove this, it's
okay.
going to just show 59. So if I select unscheduled and I also have this, it's going to do both. So some people work unscheduled because the last minute manager might call that person to come work, right? So at that time we cannot update that person's schedule for him. Like if he's going to start now in 2 minutes, we cannot give him a schedule. So he can be an unscheduled person, and then he can also use this long interval or short shift.
Okay.
And other option is you can remove unscheduled. For normal employees, you can do just long interval, short shift, etc. But just for an example, I'm just doing both combined together.
In suppose one example is in our company
Mm-hmm.
shift timing is 7:30 to 4 o'clock and second shift
Mm-hmm.
timing is 4 to 12 o'clock. Then
Mm-hmm.
some people is come in sorry, some people say schedule is in first shift but he is come in second shift. That
Okay.
time that show as unscheduled. So this is the
Yes.
same thing.
Yes. 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 So his shift is first shift. So what happens in his first shift? He's going to be shown as unexcused absence. But for the second
Okay.
shift, he's going to be shown as unscheduled because he doesn't have a schedule and he worked a shift in the second shift. But in the first shift, he had a shift, but he did not show up. So that is unexcused absence. So the second one is unscheduled. So when you apply this exception rule to him, it will first see if that person is unscheduled. So if he's unscheduled, it will flag it for him, and then it will start checking for his shift lengths.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. A good exam, good doubt actually. Keep asking me questions like this. Uh, okay, so that is it with exceptions. So let us move on to the next thing. Exceptions. Okay. So we're going to see something called as quoras. So I have not. So some of these work rules I have not, seen people use much, like 4 hours or call-ins or factor time rest between shifts. So I'll give you a general overview of how this is going to work. So basically, what 4 hours means, it defines the time ranges that employees are expected to work. So this is something that's opposite to shift guarantee. So in a shift guarantee, you will get a minimum amount even though you work only 1 or 2 hours. So that is shift guarantee. But what happens in 4 hours is you have to work some amount of time in order to get some money. So this is again, that is company specific. So we can say the employee has to work compulsory on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So only then he'll be qualified for his pay. Okay, so he has to work sometime between 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. So I'm saying 24 hours. Okay, so yeah, so that is for us. Like he has to work this at least this in order to get qualified for the pay. That is for us. That's it. So here is your code. So I have another example that I created before. So here I'm saying that any time between 12 a.m. to 10 p.m. So he has to work on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in order to get qualified for the pay. That's for us. So let's go to breaks. Okay. So breaks are nothing but these are the out intervals during an employee shift. Like you come in, that's your first in. You go out. Out for your break is your first in for your break. So break rules are defined so that the system knows how to handle the punch out interval within an employee shift. So, for example, see that if an employee is coming at 7:30 a.m., he's going out at 9. So 7:30 a.m. He's going out at 11 a.m. and he's coming back at 11:30 a.m. and his shift is ending at 4:30 p.m. So how will the system know? So this is an in punch, this is an out punch, this is an in punch, this is an out punch. So how will the system know or how to interpret or how to calculate time? So it might think that the first in and out is what the employee worked. So it might calculate only the first two and it might leave the rest. So in that case, it's a loss for the employee, right? So how are we going to tell the system to see how the breaks are calculated? So we'll just see it in this session now. So, companies can have one or more policies for detecting time from employees, breaks, or meals. In many organizations, employees are required to punch in and out for their breaks and meals, right? Especially when they leave the campus or when they leave the premises. So, if an employee does not punch in and out, a meal can be automatically deducted from the shift. We can do that setup also. So, this is also a part of the work rule building block. So let us see how break is interpreted. So like what the terms are. So I have a shift. So this is my shift start time. This is my shift start. This is my shift end. So if I'm going to, if this is my break time, then this place will be my out punch and this place will be my in punch, right? So I have to apply some rounding rules here. Like I'm going to apply a round and grace of say 30 minutes, 30. And again, this is my out punch. So for my, again, I'm coming in. So for my in, I'm going to have a long nail round punch. say again around and grace of 15 and 0. So I want my system to calculate breaks like this. So I have my shift start, I have my shift end. So I'm going for break in between. So this is my out punch here. This will be my out punch. So when I go for out punch, I want that punch to be rounded to 30 and 0, 0. My round is 30 and my grace is 0. But if I'm going to take a very long break, in that case, I want my long punch to be rounded as 15 and 0. So let's see how this system looks like. So this is the page that I get when I look for a break setup. So so let's consider an example. So my company's policy is that the employees punch for 30 minutes of lunch break. So the employee can be gone for at least 90 minutes. So if the employee punches back in any time before the 30 minutes, the lunch is rounded up to full 30. So if the employee punches back in after 30 minutes has expired, the interval rounds up to the next quarter and the punch should display as an exception. So uh, I'll write it down. So, so my minimum punch is going to be 30. Uh, so maximum can be 90, like he can be gone for 1.5 hours. So if he's going to come back in earlier than his shift, I want the round and grace to be done. So that is the short round and grace, that's his in. So short round or grace is going to be 30, 0. Long round or grace is going to be 15. So this is one break rule, right? You can create many break rules like this, and you can, assign many break rules to it, but not just one. They can have many. And there are some important terms here when you're going to define a break rule. So it is what is the normal length? Like what defines a break? Like what's the normal length of a break? What is the normal length? And what time should you round it and out for the day. So sometimes people might forget to punch in one of their shifts. So in that case, how will the system know what is the end punch of the day? So an employee might forget to come punch, do his in punch. So when he does his out again, then the system will not know how to interpret it, right? So it might miscalculate. So in that case, we have to define what is the out for the day. So 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 how what is normal length? Like what is the normal break length? So for this, we must first know how long the employee is expected to be gone during the break. Like what is his normal break? So it can be 30 minutes. How is the time rounded if someone takes more than the normal break? So if he's going to be taking more than what his break time is, like more than 30 minutes, we have to do some rounding. So we can adjust the time. So once we know what a normal break length is, we can configure the system to round accordingly for a short or a long break. And what point do we assume that the employee is not coming back? So he's gone out, but he's not coming. So we should say like if he's not coming back after 1 hour of his break, then it should round as an exception. So we also need to accommodate for when the employee expects to return. For example, there can be some cases, right? As a sick, if he's very sick, then he might have gone out and he's not going to come back for the rest of his shift. So those are some special cases where we need to accommodate when the employee expects to return, however, does not because of some unforeseen circumstances like sickness, etc. So we'll see some examples as to how a break is calculated. So for this, we first need to calculate the shift length. So how to calculate a shift length? So I have 7 a.m. is my shift time. I'm breaking in at 12 p.m. I'm going out for break at 12. I'm coming back in at 12:16 p.m. I've only gone for 16 minutes, and my end of the day is 4 p.m. So you need to do three things again. Yeah. You have to, what is the total shift length? What is the total shift length? What is the total break length? What is the total break length? And subtract the break from shift. Yeah, this is fairly simple, right? So, okay, so consider this shift. So, how long is this shift? This is for 9 hours, right? From 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. is 9 hours. What is my break time? Normally, I have to take 30 minutes of break. My minimum break is 30 minutes. Okay, but I've come in early. So, what will happen? It's going to apply 30 and 0. So, this is a short shift, right? So, it's going to apply 30 and 0 round. So, this is going to get rounded to 12:30. Okay, so let's answer our questions. So, so you please answer this one. So, what is the total shift length? I'll explain the scenario first. One second. So, my shift is from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. I have to take 30 minutes of break. My minimum break is 30 minutes. Maximum I can be gone for 1.5 hours. Okay, so if I come back early than 30 minutes, then I have to do 30 0 0 rounding, 30 and next. If I go for a long break, my rounding is going to be 6 3. Let's do this. So now you tell me. Now you answer these three questions for me. So what is the total shift length? Hello,
Hello?
hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I want.
it's 9 hours.
Yeah. Okay. So it is 9 hours. So what is the total break length? For, from the time card, what is the total break length from the time card?
16 minutes.
Yeah, 16 minutes. Yeah, it's 12:16. So it's 16 minutes. So is this a short one or a long break? My break minimum I have to take 30 minutes. So is this a short break or a long break?
Short,
It's
short
a
break.
short break. Yeah, it's a short
Yeah,
break. So if I have a short break, my rounding rule is going to be 30 and 6. So if it's going to be uh, a long thing, it's going to be 6 and 3, like the example that you did. So in 30 and 0 0, what happens? 12:16 gets moved to the next 12:30,
yeah.
right? So what's the new break time now? It's going to be 12 to 12:30. So now what is the new uh, okay. So, okay. So it's 16 minutes, right? So the break is 16. So we have a short rule in place. So it's 30. Like your round is going to be 30. It's 1 hour is getting divided into two, 30 and 30. So anywhere you punch between 12 to 12:30, the punch is always going to go forward. So 12:30. So now your total break is going to be 30 minutes after rounding. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. So what is your so now what is your new work shift? It's 8 hours and 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Understood? Yeah, we'll do one more example also. If you want me to repeat this, I'll go ahead and repeat this, but we have some more examples to practice. I'll just explain it one more time to you. So my company's rule is I have to take a minimum break for 30 minutes. Before 30 minutes, I cannot come in. If I come in before 30 minutes, my rounding rule is going to be 30 and my grace is going to be 0. Maximum time I can go for break is 90 minutes, 1.5 hours. If I go more than that, then 6 bar 3 is going to get applied for my rounding. Okay, so once my break is determined, it will see if it's short or long, and then based on it, it's going to apply the rounding rule, and we will calculate a new break length. So that we will minus from total shift length, and that is the new time. So this employee is going to get paid for 8 hours 30 minutes. If you don't have this grace here, what will happen is you are going to pay your employee for 8 hours 44 minutes or something like that. So it's a loss for the system, right? So that's why we are rounding. So I'll give you a scenario now. You work on it and let me know. So 7 a.m., 12 p.m., 12:34 p.m., and 4 p.m. So what is okay? So you'll have to answer this. Answer this for me, and this is the rule. This is the general. No, there's no change to this. Okay, can you answer these questions for me? What is the total shift length?
Total shift length is 9 hours.
Okay. What is the total break
34
with
minutes.
rounding? Yeah. So what will happen? What rounding will you be doing?
It will go
So it's a long meal. Short means within
long.
30. So whatever goes beyond short is going to be long. Above 30 is going to be, even a minute is going to be long. So you'll have to do 6 and 3 rounding. So what happens when you apply 6 and 3? What's closest to 34? So you have 30, 36, 42. So where will this go? 12, 30 or 36? 6, 3. So your grace is in the
It will
half.
go to 12. Yeah.
Yeah, it will go to
Uh,
36.
36. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So it will go to 36. You're not confused, right? For your short, like if you're taking within 30 minutes, only 30 and 00 is going to get applied. If you're going to do a long, like above 30 is long, right? So what will happen? It's going to divide 1 hour into 6 6. So what will happen? It's going to do 12 to 12:06 is one category, 12:06 to 12:12 is one category. So this shift is between 12:30 to 12:36. So what happens here? 12:33 is your middle grace. So anything between 12:30 to 12:33 is going to go back to 12:30. But anything between 34 to 36 is going to go back to 12:36.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it goes to 12:36. So now what will be the new shift? So it's going to be 36
36
minutes.
minutes.
So when you subtract this, it's going to be 8 hours and 24 minutes, right?
Okay.
8 hours and 24 minutes. We'll do one more example, one or two more examples until you get this. Okay. So my next is 7 a.m., 12 p.m., 2 p.m., and 4 p.m. So you will have to tell me this is the condition. You are going to tell me what is the total shift length, what is the total break length, and you're going to tell me the new total shift that is you're subtracting the break from your shift.
Total shift length is 9 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and the break time is 90 minutes. Sorry,
Yeah, so in this case, it's
120.
2 hours. Yeah, it's
120
two
minutes.
hours. Yeah, 120. But the maximum what you have given is only 90, right? But we have
90, yeah.
120. So what is going to happen in this situation is the system is going to think that this 2 p.m. is the out punch. And again, it's going to think this 4 p.m. is in punch. So it's more than 90 minutes means what happens is it's going to forget that the break. And it's going to think that this is an out punch. Like instead of 4, it's going to think this as the out and this as the in. So in this case, the total shift will only be 5 hours, like from 7 to 12. This will get wasted. So only 7 to 12 is calculated, and it's going to think this is the break. So this person is not going to get paid for the full shift. He's only going to get paid for 5 hours. So this is why we have something called as punch interpretation rules. So we will basically tell the system how to interpret a punch, how to interpret, when to interpret an in punch as a break or as your shift start or schedule. That is a part of the payroll policy, but since we're just discussing with breaks, I just wanted to put it as an example. So you know you'll remember when we learn about punch interpretation rules. So in this case, he's only going to get paid for five hours. Okay. So okay. So individual. So in breaks, what happens is
Hello.
individual punch. Yeah.
After he punch after 2 p.m., then 2 to 4 p.m. He will be working. That time goes
That time
to.
it will not consider. System will not consider.
Okay.
So it will only think that he's worked from 7 to 12 and 12 to 2 is gone for break and he's not come out.
Oh,
Like 2
okay.
will be his out. So it will only pay for 7 to 12. Okay. Okay. So another important thing is in breaks, the punches are not rounded. It is the amount of the total break that is rounded. So if an employee punches at 7 a.m., 11:44, or 12:14 and 4, like in our first example, so the total shift length is 9, but the break length is 30, right? So 30 is deducted from 9 hours. So it's not like you're minusing what to say, like you're not uh, removing 12, 16 from 9 hours or something. So you're only using the break amount, sorry, the rounded amount to do your subtraction. Okay, we'll do one more example. This will be easy. So I have my shift at 7 a.m. Going for break at 12. Coming back at 1:11 p.m., my out is at 4. So calculate this. This is also the same. Okay, can you calculate this? What is the total break? So now instead of punch round, apply interval round. So see the interval of the break. It's 12 to 111, right? So what is the interval round rule? No? Okay,
Hello?
I'll help you with this. Yeah, I'll help you with this.
Ma'am,
So okay, so the total shift length is 9 hours.
9 hours.
So from 12 to 111 means he's worked for 1 hour 11 minutes. So when we are going to apply the
Yeah.
interval round rules, 1 hour 11 minutes means it's almost long. It's it's long. So we have to apply
It's
1/10 rounding, 6 and 3. So 111 means it will round to 112. So his
12.
shift,
Yes, ma'am.
so his break length is 1 hour and 12
Mhm.
minutes. So from 9 hours, you have to subtract 1 hour and 12 minutes. So your new shift length would be 7 hours and 48 minutes. Okay, understood? Like any doubts or any questions with breaks? We'll
No,
set
ma'am.
up a break. Okay, we'll set up a break. We'll set up something in the system and we'll save it. So there are other students too, so I'm just using RS like Ranoli and Shashmita just to differentiate. So if you're going to work with it in the future, it will be easy for you to use something with that's we have worked and tested with. Okay, so let's do this. So uh, 30 minutes and 120 max. So okay, 1 hour 30 minutes is maximum. So it's going to be 30 here, 30 minutes. Our normal length is 30. You don't have to give any medium. We'll give our my maximum is 130. So we can take a short break of 30. I mean the short like anything before 30 is so 30 minutes is the normal length. If it goes below this, it's called as short, or if it goes beyond this, it's long. Maximum he can take is only 130. So within 30 to 130 is your long interval. Before 30 is your short interval. So you can do your round and the races here. So for short break, we decided that we'll be doing 30 and 0 next. So medium break, we don't have to do anything. And so only if you set up something here, you'll be able to edit this, or you won't be able to edit this. So long break is, I'm going to, we did 15, right? We did first 15. So we'll do 15 and 0, 0. So we have some settings for break here. So what this means is uh, break starts at or after. So you select this option to define a range of time that applies to this break rule, which identifies the beginning of the range. Like when should this break start from? Should it start from, after your shift, like 4 hours after your shift, or 5 hours after your shift? So this is actually based on your actual punches. So this is related to your punches. So we use these options when you want to assign several break rules to someone, such as like there will be different break rules, right? You can go for a 15-minute break, you can go for two 15 minutes break and one half an hour lunch break. So you can divide it. So when you're going to give multiple rules to an employee, you can tell them like if this is going to be my lunch break, then I have to tell them that it has to be 4 hours after their shift starts. If it's going to be their morning coffee break, then I'm going to say it as it's 2 hours after their break starts. So something like that. And before is also related to this. So we select this option to identify the end of valid interval for this break rule. So when you use this, the break rules only apply for a portion of the day instead of the entire day. And again, this is also based on your actual punches. So what break starts relative to means is there are three options in it: 12, scheduled start, and actual start. So this option determines how break starts at or after and before options work. So related to 12 midnight sets those option like related to 12 sets these options as fixed points in time. Like your shift is your shift can be any time, but we're just going to check it based on midnight. Like you can work an evening or a night shift. So in that case, how is your break calculated? So in any point, you just wanted to, keep its starting as 12 midnight. Like with respect to 12 midnight, how many hours I will work or when should my break appear? So scheduled start means it depends on employee's schedule, like when his actual start is. Um, and the last option is actual start. 1 second. So 12 midnight is fixed for anybody. So scheduled start and actual start, these varies depends on the shifts of the employees. So default is 12. I'll just leave it as 12. Uh, Paid amount. So when employee is taking a break that is equal to or less than the paid amount, no time is deducted from their time cards. But if they take a break that is longer than the paid amount, only the incremental amount of time is deducted from their shifts. So if they go more than 1 hour, 30 minutes, you can say that for this many hours after the break, you can just use this time to, uh, remove some amount from the shift. So, for example, say that I can only go for a 30-minute break, but I can maximum take up to 1 hour, but I have taken 1.5 hours. So, I can tell the system that after my maximum break length, how much of the time I take for up to 2 hours, uh, that amount is going to get deducted from my paycheck. So, that is my paid amount. So short exception limit is nothing but it is used to identify who takes short lunches, and long is to identify who's taking long, uh, long breaks. So these exceptions are used to, appear in the reports. So this is for reporting purposes, these both options. I'll just leave it at this and I'll save and return. Okay, that is breaks. Do you have any questions? This it might be a bit difficult to just memorize this for now, but they're trying to set up some employees. If not, you must be having development system at your places, right? You can go in the setup and you can, ask them to give you some access to just view the setup in your development and see how all these options are set. So you can, uh, based on that, you'll be able to get an idea of what the rules are at your place. But
Okay,
I
ma'am.
hope you can understand the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see auto resolved exceptions. It's very easy. It only takes 5 minutes. Um, okay. So this is a new addition uh, this is a very new addition in workforce timekeeper. So, so there are some exceptions, right? Like late in, early out, long break, unexcused 4 hours. So for this, we used to create work rules previously and assign a duration code to capture the time these exceptions have occurred, like how much late in, like how many minutes is he late, etc. So all this we can capture in a duration pay code. So All this we can do using this auto resolved exceptions, but for that we have to go and we have to create a duration pay code. So we created standard pay codes before, so we'll create a duration pay code. So I have to select duration. So when I select duration, it automatically defaults to hours. No money, no days. Only in standard you'll get hours, money, and days. In duration, only hours. So is this going to be used for auto resolved exceptions? Yes. So requires approval? Yes. I am doing this because say that there is an unexcused absence, like an employee is absent for a shift. So a manager can, verify this auto resolved exception and he can approve it. So that employee can get paid for the day. So I'm just giving a scenario. This is not the only thing. There are other things too, but this is just a scenario. I'm going to save this. So I'm going to go ahead again to auto resolved exceptions. I'm going to create a new one. Okay. So what are the default duration pay codes that I can have? I'm going to select the same pay code that we created. You can create multiple ones and you can add it, but I'm just going to say that for any exception that I have, I just want those hours to be tracked in my duration pay code. And that's it. So we'll be assigning this part to a work rule in a work rule, and that work rule we can use it for transfers. So here we'll be able to select it. But we will first have to finish all these to go to a work rule. So this is how an auto resolve exception works. So nothing but you're basically going to uh, capture amounts of time, the exceptions like late and early out, long break, core hours, etc. All these exceptions, you're just going to assign it to a duration pay code. So this duration pay code is going to list all the exceptions and it's going to allow for the selection of duration pay codes for each of these exceptions. You can set up the duration pay codes to be configured to require approval like we did. The duration pay codes would need to be added to, so we have to create some pay code profiles so that an employee can have access to this. So there's something called as a pay code profile. So only when you create a pay code profile and assign to an employee, that employee will get access to pay codes. So it's not that automatically whatever pay codes you create, everything is available to everybody. So all those profile things will be seen at the end of the pay policies and approvals. But I'm giving a small gist. So that's it with auto resolve exceptions. Bonuses and deductions is big. So I would like to start it fresh. So we'll probably have a class on Tuesday at 8:45. That's okay with you this week. Last week we had some work with the server, so we couldn't conduct any classes. So we'll resume normal classes from this week again.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, then we'll see next week. So once work rule is done, we'll probably do some activity. But if you have access to your system, please go and see the setups, like how it is done from round rules to your auto resolve exceptions, especially how breaks and exceptions are done. You can ask them
Yes, ma'am.
access to your development server. You don't have to test anything in production. They'll definitely have a development and a testing server. You can go and test there and work on it. Rather than why I'm suggesting this is here we are just using our own examples, but your company is the policies, you've been working there, so you know what conditions are there. So based on that you can set up the system, so that's easier to understand for you now that you know the concepts and the logic.
Okay.
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 Okay, thanks. Bye, happy weekend.
Bye bye.
Bye.